Metroid Prime is outdated. Metroid Prime is overrated. Metroid Prime is ill-fated. I don't know. But the point is, I was initially, if I had made this video like 2 or 3 years ago, I was gonna call it something to that effect. Something that basically boils down to Metroid Prime is bad, and if you like the game, watch this video because I'm gonna clickbait you. That's initially what I was gonna do. I still might do that now, to be quite honest, because hey, if it works, it works. But something changed, okay? My story with Metroid Prime has a couple different phases, but I want to start it off by saying that before I'd even played the game, I had heard nothing but incredible things. Not just good, incredible. Because Metroid Prime is one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time. On Metacritic right now, it is number 7 on the top 10 list, okay? That is an absurdly high ranking. Granted, not as high as Ocarina of Time, which was the other game, critically acclaimed game that I didn't really mess with on my first playthrough, but you can't really go like higher than Ocarina, so we're just gonna have to go down from here. But trust me when I say that Metroid Prime was a massive deal, and when in 2017 they announced they were gonna make a 4th one, oh my god. People reacted like the second coming of Christ was about to happen. It was crazy. And I was over here like, okay, well, these games seem interesting. You know, I like sci-fi. I'm a big Star Wars, Star Trek guy, you know. But Metroid had always been one of those things that I couldn't ever really get into because I'd played Metroid on NES, I played Super, and there was always that point that would just like have me at a standstill and just leave me confused and then eventually just tired with the game. I still to this day haven't beaten that many Metroids, but when they finally remastered Metroid Prime and put it out, they shadow dropped it after the Nintendo Direct where it was announced. I immediately bought it and I immediately started playing and I immediately liked what I was seeing. The intro to Metroid Prime is arguably one of the best game intros of all time. Even back when I wasn't messing with the game, I knew that the intro was killer, okay? You're getting a distress signal. You're the bounty hunter, Samus Aran, and you head over to a space station, and then you crawl inside, you learn the controls, and you think, wow, there's lock-on in a first-person game. That's actually pretty interesting. And then you keep going through, you start learning about the scan visor. Wow, you can scan a lot of stuff in this game. Oh my god. But then you're piecing through, and then you see the Parasite Queen, this massive behemoth of a monster, and you start shooting and strafing around and you're like, oh my god, that was so cool. And then it's like, oh my god, the base is about to blow up. So you run out of there, you evacuate, grab everything you've got, and you're like, let's go, let's do this, I'm a ball, and then you blow up. And then you lose everything. Every little upgrade that you grew accustomed to, like the morph ball, like the charge beam, all of that is gone. And then suddenly you're heading down to the planet of Talon 4. And that is where the bulk of Metroid Prime takes place. And that is where I started to get a little confused because the beginning of Metroid Prime is not just good in terms of like cinematic spectacle and being a good tutorial, it's also very, very linear. So if you're a dumb idiot boy like me, you were easily getting through, okay? It was just like a combat gauntlet for you that looked pretty. But then once you head on Talon 4, you're immediately put in this hub world where there are like 3 or 4 different doors. And I was like the John Travolta Pulp Fiction meme. I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing here. But okay, decided to go through a couple of doors. And then I was piecing through it. I was definitely progressing, but there were always these points where I would stop and be like, oh god, I don't have the stupid missile upgrade, I don't have the double jump, I don't have the morph ball. And this is another chapter of me being barred out by Nintendo's lock and key design. I talked about this in my Ocarina of Time video, and if there is a king of lock and key design as a genre, it is Metroidvanias. And lo and behold, I was stuck. Now I will say, to younger me's defense, the game could do a couple things to make progression easier. Here's the thing. When you're going through Talon 4, you will stumble upon all sorts of places that you cannot access yet. And that's fine. I'm totally okay with that. I'm okay with the backtracking that the planet makes you do. But the annoying part, to me, then and I think a little now, is the fact that you can't mark any of these places to return to later. You could like grab a journal and do it, but you know, I'm a young spry boy. I don't know how to read, okay? Obviously, I'm gonna kind of hope for some sort of marker system. This is something I think weirdly enough, Metroid Prime 4 got right, or Metroid Dread, I know for a fact got right, is that there's a marker system. I do wish the game had that, but because of stuff like that, and just the fact that I started not really vibing with the combat, I realized that it's a lot of just like pressing the shoot button and playing with the sticks. I should say right now, I was using your standard dual stick the same way every first-person shooter is designed. And I can't remember what point, I believe it was after one of the boss fights where I just kind of tapped out. I was like, I'm good, I don't really want to play this anymore. I have things to do. I was in freshman year, okay? I had finals, I was like, okay. And then time passed. Enough time that I started to re-like Metroid's aesthetic and be like, I kind of want to get back into this, but I don't really want to get back into Metroid Prime. So I'm gonna buy Metroid Dread instead, which was $60, more expensive, and then I bum rushed through it within like a week and I loved every second of it. Metroid Dread was incredible. I still think it is one of the best Switch games you could buy for like $60. It's probably, you could probably find it for cheaper than that now, but Metroid Dread is incredible. It's extremely difficult, but the skill ceiling is just at that perfect level where it's not like overbearingly hard. It looks gorgeous, it plays super speedy. It is almost the complete antithesis of Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime wants you to slow down and wants you to look around and absorb the atmosphere. We'll get to that later. But Metroid Dread is like zoom, 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 get through, beat the boss, let's go. And that flowed more with me, okay? I'm a Sonic fan, it clicked. And then months pass, and I'm seeing Metroid Prime in my home screen, and I'm like, I should probably play this. Like, I did spend $40 on it. I should probably beat this. And so I decided to lock in. I open up Game Facts. I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong? What items do I need? And eventually I beat Metroid Prime, not without a lot of struggling. And I came out thinking, I didn't get it. I thought it was okay. I thought it was good. I would have given it like a high 6 or 7, shut up. That was my only like thought on it. It was good, see why people loved it, but it didn't really flow with me. But then something kind of interesting happened. A year or two passed, and suddenly all this information about like the world of Talon 4, the map layout, the design, the progression, it started to like encode in my head in a very interesting way that I can't fully describe. It was like the frustration of having to go through Talon 4 somehow made it a more memorable experience, and it made it something that I kind of wanted to go back to. Now, part of this is just due to presentation, because Metroid Prime is a gorgeous looking game with incredible music on both the GameCube and the Switch. But another part of it was just the fact that like, I think some weird Stockholm Syndrome part of me kind of missed it. I was like, Talon 4 is busted, but it's home, and home sweet home. Like, I gotta visit sometime. I gotta visit the family and the kids I've left there 20 years ago. Danica, you are never getting those child support payments. But I decided, on a whim, let me play Metroid Prime again. And this time, I was so much more locked in. I knew what I was doing. I got through the tutorial in like 30 minutes. I was on Talon 4, bum rushing it through. I finally got it, and you wanna know a massive change I made early in the playthrough is that I started playing with motion controls. Now, if you guys haven't seen my Wii video, you might not know this, but I love pointer and motion controls. I think they are incredible. And the Switch version of Metroid Prime, I will admit, doesn't have like the best pointer controls. You do have to recenter it a lot. But when you're in front of like a nice TV and you shut the lights off and you start pointing that thing around, pause, that sounds terrible. Please don't clip that. But when you're in that mode and you dissolve the barrier between you and the game's world, the TV just becomes a window. Everything about Metroid Prime started to click. Because Metroid Prime is not a game about gameplay. Metroid Prime is a game about immersion. It's about putting you in Talon 4, okay? Anytime you shoot a laser blast and you see Samus's reflection, anytime a bug gets their little gross juices on you, anytime your helmet fogs up because it's so cold, that is Metroid Prime conveying the ultimate, most important part of its design. I have never, to this day, even in spite of playing bits of Metroid Prime 2 and finishing Metroid Prime 4 twice, I have never felt more immersed in a game world than I did in Talon 4. Even when I was struggling, even when I was like, damn, this is kind of difficult and kind of rough. For some reason, Talon 4 just has so much atmosphere that it remained encoded in my brain. I became Metroid pilled, and suddenly all these things that once felt like hurdles just felt like natural parts of this alien world. It stopped feeling like this designed video game. Like, obviously my critic brain is like, ah, wow, this retro designer really made this do this and this. But my gamer brain completely got lost in Talon 4. And now Metroid Prime is one of my favorite games of all time. It's in the top 10. It honestly might be 7 or higher. That's how much of a change there was. Suddenly, like, the shooting being a little archaic didn't feel like that because I was literally shooting. It became a whole different experience. Suddenly stuff like the progression not really working, either my brain had already like stored those memories in the back of my mind to be like, you should remember this for later, or I was just better at navigating through these lock and key games. I don't feel that at all anymore. Even the Chozo artifact hunting, which is annoying, doesn't particularly bother me the same way it did way back when I played it the first time, when I thought like, what the hell are we doing? Are we really padding this game out? Like, obviously that's still a complaint. There are complaints you can have about Metroid Prime, and honestly, I do think a minimized version of my original critiques is still probably a valid way to look at the game, but there is something so enrapturing about the planet of Talon 4, the different biomes and the way in which they're rendered, and it's why Metroid Prime is an absolute recommendation. I cannot say this enough. If you haven't played Metroid Prime 1 yet, play it, and if you didn't enjoy it, give it some time and replay it again, because I had a cycle with this game. I had a character arc, and I think you can too if you didn't completely vibe with it the first time. If you did vibe with it the first time, shut up, no one asked you, okay? Get out of my sight, that's a joke. Please don't. I need the view, and I need you. Subscribe, comment down below, tell me what you think of Metroid Prime. Tell me if I should get back into 2 and 3, because I started them, I never finished them though. And just let me know how you're feeling, okay? I will respond to every comment. That is a Zoff promise. I'm responding to them all. And with that being said, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.